Okay, so I promised you a little video, and I want to talk about how you might think about applying this to walking or kayaking. And I put applying in quotation marks because who knows exactly how it happens. We call these lessons awareness through movement, but it's a funny kind of awareness because it isn't always conscious. So if you can resolve that paradox, let me know, send me a note. But somehow, with these lessons, you will find yourself maybe slowly or maybe suddenly using yourself a little bit differently in a way that you chose. So, so many things you can take from this lesson. I think why the emphasis on the foot placement when you're lying on your back and you have your knees bent and your feet planted. You're never going to do that in a kayak, and you don't walk that way. But it's another example of skeletalness, of the physics of things. So remember, the guy who started this was a physicist. He worked for Marie Curie. Amazing. Had a very interesting life. So as a physicist, what he knows is that being perpendicular to the ground, or we could say being in line with gravity, is usually a good idea. And so what you may find as you do the lesson, there kind of is a right answer, which is to have the shin as perpendicular as possible, to be situated in such a way that your foot, your whole foot is used, not just your heel or the ball. And to have your foot, your hip, your thigh, your shin, your foot are all in the same plane. You can't necessarily see it from this angle of the camera, but if you put a piece of paper right down through me, I think that all of my parts would be in the same plane. And when I try it, like if I put my foot out or in, or my whole leg out or in, I feel the difference. When I'm here, and we could get out your high school geometry and show why, but I just have so much more power and more stability, and guess what? More pleasure. You're not going to do that in a kayak exactly, and you don't do it in walking exactly, but the fundamental idea that your first habit, your first idea of what's the most comfortable, could maybe be upgraded. When's the last time you thought about it? So however you use your feet in the kayak, try different things. Play around with them like you played around with this during the lesson. And when you walk, try different things. And think about your relationship with the plumb line of gravity, and think about a subtle little change in the angle of your foot, and find what pleases you. First thing, but it can't stop there. I'm just only do one other one. Because this is okay. So these top vertebrae, the big knobby one is the first one in the thoracic spine, which just basically means the rib cage spine. And so you've got the big one, T1. That's where the first rib comes around and actually comes under here and connects under the clavicles. It's actually, this is the shoulder joint. And so easing up that T1, it's the most attached rib, is not only great for your paddling, but I don't know, I think it's the secret of happiness, to get a little bit of movement in there. And then so you've got T1, T2, T3, by the time you get to 5, you're between the shoulder blades. It's really hard to get movement there. And I'm not talking about stretching, I'm talking about getting those costovertebral joints to work. So if you just want a little, what I call a little Feldenkrais aspirin, a body wisdom aspirin. Remember during the lesson I talked about how you could either lift your hips. I always want to roll. Let me try it. That's the hingy. You could. A lot of people lift. See how I'm sort of hinging here, and my torso is like a board. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. There really are different strategies that are all good. I tend to roll. So I start by just flattening my lower back, and it's like I'm curling up a carpet as I go up. So if that's not your favorite strategy, just for the sake of this, try it. And so right now, I can feel myself leaning into T1, that knobby one. And actually, it feels good. I could even wiggle a little bit. You're only going to do this in a very safe way. And then, as I come down, dink, I can feel T2. Dink, T3. Dink, D4. Did you ever think you would be able to tell apart your vertebrae like this? Well, you can. T5, and sometimes I get a pop there. Oh my God, it's heaven. And now add in the fists. So the knuckles are on the floor. The backs of the hands are on the floor. And what are you going to want to do? Do you want to go up like this? As though you were lifting your torso with your fists. And now come back, and your knuckles go dink, 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 just the way your upper thoracic does. And then again. Warming up. And I had a headache this morning. Tea didn't help. Aspirin hasn't maybe kicked in yet. And now I just did this and the headache is gone. So, I'm not being Dr. Fox, I'm not prescribing this. I'm just saying it feels great. It feels great. So I hope it feels good for you. Go easy and maybe do warm up with the overall lesson before you do this little body wisdom aspirin for the first time. Have fun.